Okay, Andy says we have plenty. He'll start sending them through. Oh, and I should mention, while he's sending the first one through, my email will be posted somewhere here, or if you send an email to info@tormach.com, attention Daniel Roki, we can certainly get any question that you think of later answered via email. First question from Joel, is the Tormach tool changer supported? Yes, it is. How will bugs be distributed? We have an update mechanism. It's a compressed file that you'll download from our website. You carry it over via USB stick to the control computer and click an update button. We have, fixes. Yeah, bug fixes be distributed. How will the software be updated, I guess is what I'm answering. An file that be downloaded from the internet, carry it over to the controller via USB and install that way. The update mechanism is already in place with the lathes. We actually, I've been pretty surprised. We released the lathe in August of this year, and we have found a couple of bugs, but they've been really minor, nothing that would cause us to go through the release process. So we haven't done a new release for lathes yet, but had we done a release for lathes, you would have found that it's just clicking an update button on the settings screen and bringing that file over on USB, navigating to it, and saying OK. From Mark Fetters, will the jog shuttle work? Yes, the jog shuttle works both for lathe and for mill on PathPilot. Dennis Krause, can toolpath display be left turned on now regardless of G-code file size? That is a good question. We are working on that. It is not something that we were able to get into this pre-release, but we really hope to have it done for post-release. So some background. You load a 100,000 line file into this software, and it loads up pretty quickly, half a second, something like that. If you load a 4 million line piece of code into this software, it can take a minute to load. And the short-term workaround we have is providing you some indication that, in fact, it's thinking about something. But the longer-term fix may include refactoring some of the code to make it faster, so the toolpath display loads faster, or it may include just clipping the toolpath display, because as you can imagine, if you have a G-code program that's 5 million lines long, well, 5 million lines of code just looks like a rat's nest mess on your toolpath display. You probably only care about the first million or so. Brian Oates, does the new control address the lag between button push and actual control of the Mach 3 version? Yes, it does. Maybe that was where the audio cut out in the presentation, but yeah, you press stop on this, it stops. You press pause, it stops. The stop is instantaneous. There is no more 3-second delay waiting for Mach to pause. Bud Scott, can I switch back to Mach if I don't like PathPilot? Yes, you can. And this, I'm going to back up here to the how do I get it slide. I mentioned really old models will not be supported. And part of that's because we can't tell how well they work because we don't have any of them sitting around here. The other reason is that the controllers listed on the eligible for PathPilot upgrade page, those are all controllers for which we have a Mach 3 restore DVD. So if you have a control computer that you either have that Mach 3 restore DVD, that's the Windows operating system DVD plus Mach 3 on it, if you have a control computer that had that restore DVD and you install PathPilot, which wipes out your operating system and puts Linux on it, and you want to go back to Mach 3, you just put that Mach 3 restore DVD back in. Now, older computers, we didn't have the restore DVD in place for that. So if you try PathPilot, and hey, this will not be supported, let me reinforce that. If you try PathPilot on this really old computer and it doesn't work for you, we don't have a restore DVD to send to you. You're kind of out of luck there. That's one of the main reasons that we're not supporting these older controllers, is that, you know, if you don't like it or if something goes wrong or for whatever reason, if you want to go back, You can go back if you have the old Windows Mach 3 Restore DVD, but we don't have a Restore DVD for these older controllers. Bill Blackburn, is Duality supported with PathPilot? Yes. Not only is it supported, but when you switch to Lathe, you get the same user interface as on the Slant Pro. So all the conversational code that we have for Slant Pro is all there for Duality. Can you dual boot Mach and PathPilot? Maybe you can, but I haven't tried. How will updates to bug fixes come, and will the new system allow us to use the network to do updates? Right now, updates are via USB stick that you would download from our website. I can envision a model in the future where if your computer is network connected, you're just notified, hey, there's an update. Do you want to upgrade? I have some software running on my development desktop that works that way, and I like it, although I have to admit I usually say no. But right now, no. You can't do the update via the networked machine controller. You do have to download a file. Enda Murphy, is networking supported on the controller? Yes, it is. You can use it as a network share, and on your CAD/CAM workstation, you can save G-code files directly to the controller. We also have a Wi-Fi stick you can use for that if you have a Wi-Fi network in your shop. Will other pendants be supported? I've seen a lot of questions on the forums about Vista CNC, and I, to be honest with you, I don't know about Vista CNC. It's not something we've looked at, and mainly we haven't looked at it because it has an e-stop button. And that e-stop button goes over USB, and that's just kind of a big no-no in terms of machine tool control. Any e-stop button really needs to be a physical e-stop that disables the drives. So we've never evaluated Vista C from that standpoint, but I understand a lot of people like it. It's not supported now. I can imagine if there were enough requests for it, it might be supported in the future. I know Vista CNC pendant, they've been talking about writing an integration for Linux CNC with it. So if they get it into Linux CNC, it would be trivial to get it into PathPilot, but it's not an active project. Chris, soft limits now integrated into PathPilot? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Charles Miller, what is the look ahead better than Mach 3? Mach 3 has a tunable look ahead, and our implementation had it at 20 lines. And the PathPilot also has tunable look ahead, and we have it at 100 lines, but it's actually not the amount of look ahead that gives us the performance increase that you saw in that video. It's the blending method. From Chris again, are previous specific G&M codes such as M998 defined in the new software? Yes, they are. And I think maybe the larger question is, how about my old SpruteCam code? Is that going to work in PathPilot? Yes, it will. I think I mentioned G83 with a p-value earlier in this presentation. SpruteCam is embarrassing. SpruteCam's been tossing a p-value on G83 for the last few years, and it's not part of the FANUC standard. PathPilot gives you a little warning. Hey, you've got a p-value on this, but it'll run the code, which we thought was a nice combination between doing nothing and just running code that doesn't make sense, or preventing you from running it all. There is one caveat. We've seen customers code that had bad IJK values, those arc radius errors, and I don't think Sprute has been responsible. Well, Sprute, for all I know, Sprute was responsible for some of that bad code. We've been selling Sprute for a long time, and they've fixed a lot of things. If you have code with nonsense arc radius values, PathPilot won't run it, and you'll have to fix it. And there's a tolerance also. PathPilot's going to say, is it within 5%? Oh, just go ahead and run it. Is it within 20%? Let's issue a warning. Maybe this guy wants to clean up his code. Is it worse than 50% in terms of relative position error between IJK start and end? If it is, you're likely not going to get the part you programmed, and we're not going to run it. So that's the long-winded answer on whether my old G code that I ran under Mach 3 will run under PathPilot. Oh, Dennis, in the middle of running code, can the machining be paused, then the axis moved, I say warn tool, then hit start again, and will it return to the place that it paused? The old jog while paused. No. Unlike Heidenhain, you cannot do that in the software. However, run from here does work quite well, and so you could stop the G code, change your tool, measure the new tool offset, scroll to the correct line of the G code, select set start line, press cycle start, and you'd be on your way again. Joel Harrison, will cutter diameter compensation and enable small corrections to the nominal diameter? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. I just was using that the other day on a home project. Any problems running on the Series 2 mills? I've confirmed the controller will accept the FPGA. No, we have configs for Series 1 with a spindle drive upgrade, Series 2 with a Series 3 upgrade, Series 3, 770, we have configs for all that. So all those old machines are supported. From Juan, once purchased, bugs and patches and updates are free. Yes, you bet. And keep in mind, purchased, we're really just paying for the FPGA card here. The software is effectively being given away for free. Another question from Juan. In the future, will PathPilot be the only system you support? Will support questions from Mach 3 no longer be answered? If we still want the best support is the change to PathPilot highly advised. Here's the official policy on that. We will continue Mach 3 support for 1 year past the last sale of that system. So basically, while you're in warranty, if you have a Mach 3 system, we will do Mach 3 support. After that happens, so let's fast forward here to 2016, March of 2016. If I'm around, or Matt's around, or Nolan is around, or Jeff, Jacob, Jason Pulvermacher, if any of the tech support guys that are familiar with Mach 3 are around and you call up with a Mach 3 question, of course we will talk to you about it. But you know, we hire new people all the time, and as new people come on, we're certainly not going to train them on a control software system we no longer sell. So eventually Mach 3 support will fade out. And then there's the issue of, you know, let's say it's within your warranty period and you run into some Mach 3 bug that you can't work around. Well, we're going to have, you know, I don't know how to support that other than saying you probably should switch to PathPilot if you want the bug fixed. So questions here. Is it possible to run the software offline on a spare PC before learning it to switch to the new controller? It's not right now. It's not. The controller needs the Mesa card in it to run. That's something that folks have asked for, and I'm not going to say it'll never happen. So, but right now, Chris, it's not possible to run the software offline. It needs to have a Mesa card in it to even fire up. From Juan, does code posted from Mach 3 work with PathPilot? Yeah, as I mentioned before, other than if you've got bad G code that posted from Mach 3 and Mach 3 accepted it, yes, it will work for PathPilot. What about the post processor? The SpruteCam post processor works fine. For PathPilot, a Mach 3 post will work fine for PathPilot. I have all reason to believe that for mill, just a straight Haas or Fanuc post will work fine. For lathes, that's not quite true. The G71 roughing cycles for lathes don't work in the software yet. Skip, will PathPilot support your USB-IO device? Yes, it does. It already does. Bud Scott, newfangled wizards are part of ArtSoft and Mach 3, and no, they're not going to be supported with this Windows-based program, and I doubt that Mach 3 wants to rewrite them for PathPilot. I'm assuming they have much bigger fish to fry with Mach 4 coming out soon. From Carl, is the PCI card hardware specifically designed for Tormach, or will others possibly work? No, so we've had a number of questions about that. Hey, I have a SIL and I did a homebrew thing. Can I get PathPilot for it? You can't get PathPilot for it. It was really purpose-driven for our machine tools. But the card that's used, which a Mesa Electronics 5x25 or 6x25 card, that is something that's commercially available and works with both Linux CNC and MachineKit. And both MachineKit and Linux CNC have a number of different user interface options and really good ways to configure that FPGA card for your machine. So, and great community-based support. So if you're participating in this presentation because you don't own a Tormach machine, but you're wondering, you know, can I get this benefit from my non-Tormach machine? I definitely would recommend trying out either Linux CNC or MachineKit using that FPGA card. It's a really nice solution. Sebastian, how do I request to get a copy of the install DVD? The install DVD you can get on our website right now, and I think you just add it to the cart. And it was free for a limited time. It may now be $10. I'm not sure. I know we were shipping them for free and not charging anything for them, but I think we're just got. Yeah, it turns out when you give something away for free, people that don't even have your machine just say, "Oh, it's free, give me that." So we were kind of swamped with that. But yeah, just on the website, or if you're asking for a copy of the source code under the GPL, let me know and I can get that to you too. Terry May, Andy, under what existing software such as Scanner Stuff will be updated to run under Linux? Scanner was a tough one. Scanner is very cool, although I always thought it was fairly hard to use. And we went ahead and wrote the code for Scanner and wrapped up what we felt was kind of an alpha release of it just a couple months ago, and then really have focused all our efforts on getting this software up to snuff and running a beta program for this. So the end result is, you know, you guys anyone participating now is in a pre-release phase of this software. If you want to use Scanner, it's there. You just enable it via a tab, and if you have a USB webcam or microscope, or if you've purchased one from us, it should work. I know that there are a few bugs in Scanner that we haven't fixed yet, and it has not been well tested, so I expect we'll find several more. But the hope is that as this rollout goes smoothly and things die down, we hope to get working more on Scanner. Is the new trajectory planner in beta? Yes, you bet. It sure is. Yeah. Website says PathPilot is touchscreen capable. Please elaborate as to what touchscreens are supported. So we sold for a long time planar touchscreens, and we have plans to start selling them again, and those are supported. If you have your own touchscreen, things are a little trickier. Some of them, the ones that work as HID devices, may work right out of the box. I bought one off of Monoprice. I plugged it in. It worked fine. Caveat there is that some of those guys come with their own calibration software. Sometimes the calibration software isn't in Linux. That's kind of a bit of a gray area. So how I expect we'll handle that going forward is if you have a touchscreen that needs a particular driver, let me know. I can see what we can do. I expect we'll be adding drivers to the software for touchscreens as we can. But for now, priority is going to be on fixing bugs for the early adopters and for the folks after March 15th. And I can only tell you that the known stuff that works is the stuff we've sold in the past. Dave Bagby, is PathPilot based off Linux CNC or MachineKit? Which release is the base? Boy, somebody with more Git foo would have to answer that question. It's based off of both. It was originally based off of a Linux CNC branch post trajectory planner merge, but we've subsequently rolled stuff back in from MachineKit. It's a hybrid, and when we make changes, we first make them in our repo, and then we push them out if they're things that we think that the Linux CNC or MachineKit guys would want. We push them out to those repos. that might be something for an offline conversation. If you and Sebastian want to have a chat later after this presentation, I'd be happy to talk with you guys at length about that. Or for that matter, anyone that wants to participate in a Machine Kit Linux CNC discussion, we could do that on a conference call later today. Mark Jones, if I try PathPilot and decide I'd rather stay with Mach, what's the process? If you have a controller that ships with a Mach 3 Restore DVD, you just use that Mach 3 Restore DVD. If you've used a Restore DVD before, you'll know it wipes out your tool table, it wipes out anything. It's clean install of the operating system, so there's a little bit of a cost associated with going back and forth. But yeah, if you've got a controller with a Restore DVD, or if your controller is one of the newer ones that we would have shipped a Restore DVD with and you lost that Restore DVD, you can get a new one from us on the web. But anyway, that's how you'd go back. Skip Baker, yes, G84 is supported. You bet. Alan Putman, will lost position due to USB noise go away? Yes, it will. I could elaborate on that if there are no other questions, or we could just kind of wrap things up. It is getting close to lunchtime. What parameters are customizable currently? Keyboard mapping, step increments, etc. The short answer is none. We've included some of the keyboard mapping that was part of our old Mach system, so Alt-R for cycle start, things like that. And we're taking requests. And I know some of this may not be popular. From an OEM standpoint, the more customization that we allow, the harder it is for us to support. And also, if there are things in there that we think are really valuable, we want to get them in for everyone, not just have them floating around as customization. Hang on just 1 minute. Oh, I skipped a couple. Sorry, I'll try and go back and hit those. Yeah, so the short answer is we don't really have that going on now. Customizations, I think, are going to be things where if you have a great idea, please let us know, and if we like it too, we'll definitely put it in. But people make an analogy here internally between PathPilot and TiVo. You know, TiVo runs Linux under the hood. It's based on open source software. It looks and feels nothing like a computer doing digital video recording on a hard drive, but it works really well for that application because it's tailor-made for it. And you wouldn't have, you know, Alt-R hotkey shortcuts for starting your TiVo, at least not ones that they allow you to customize. So I guess that's kind of our standpoint. I know that won't be popular. With Mach 3, we locked out the configuration menu so that people couldn't, you know, overclock their stepper motors and then call us up complaining that the machine was going out to lunch. That hasn't been popular with some, but it's allowed us to create a product that we think is more reliable. So that's part of the answer to customization. That's a tough one. Let me go back and try and find some of the ones I missed here. Post-processor, I/O, fangirls, how do you copy, software, touchscreen. How will we report bugs that we find? Just call in. We're actually going to have an email. I believe it's software@tormach.com. Andy can confirm that, but. And then on the software, when we have an update, when we have our first update to publish, you can bet that there will be a known issues list as well as a release note with each and every single release. Dave Bagby is participating in this, and he's a good guy for release notes. He's got the absolute best set of bug lists and release notes that I know of out there for Mach 3, and we're hoping to match his level of enthusiasm for that. M998 works. Let's see. If using the touch screen, will there be any lag versus the keyboard shuttle? Ooh, I think you mean for jogging. And yeah, there's not There's not even a provision in that touchscreen for jogging for exactly that. I feel okay with cycle start and stop via the touchscreen because we have an e-stop on the machine, but touchscreens are just not as reliable as using a jog shuttle or a mouse or a keyboard in terms of their ability to handle press events. So if you're talking about lag for jogging using a touchscreen, there's not a jog this way button on the interface. Let's see what else I can find here. Sorry, here is the controller for lathe and mill identical? Yes, it is. How do graphics scale for different monitor resolutions? 1024 by 768, same as we supported with Mach. So it'll stretch if you have something other than 4 by 3. John Prentice. The bug forum question was important. Can you go back and get to it? Bug tracking submission. Web portal or software at tormach.com. Mach 3 post electric will work. Okay, and from Bill, 770 Series 3 with my own PC controller running Mach 3. I'm an experienced firmware developer and I'm fine purchasing a PCIe Express card. Well, you could purchase the upgrade kit. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't work, you're out of luck, I guess. Yeah, I know it sounds bad. I do want to help people get this software in any way we can. As you can imagine, though, installing this stuff on any old PC, I mean, I don't know if you have a 32-bit PC or a 64-bit, there's all sorts of stuff out there that could make this inappropriate, and I can't guarantee, the only thing I can guarantee is that if you have one of our old controllers, we can definitely help you out and get you going. If you have your own PC, then we can do our best. But that sounded disingenuous. We can do our best, which means we've got documentation, but if you call us up, we're not going to be able to answer too many questions. Is there a PathPilot post available for Fusion 360? It looks like Andy's on that question. USB network interface supported on a Tormach controller with PathPilot. We have a USB Wi-Fi stick that we sell for, I don't know, not that much money. It's really cheap. So it's not a USB Ethernet, but the Wi-Fi thing, yeah, we sell it and it's supported. Here we go from Brian. A limit to monitor size. If your monitor doesn't support 1024 by 768, then a large monitor that supports higher resolutions often will support lower resolutions. Some, however, and I'm thinking of the projector that we have in the conference room, won't support a 1024 by 768, and if it doesn't support that, then you're going to have, I don't know, probably a smaller window sitting in there, so that'll be tricky for you. Support for duality lathes, will it allow the use of an optical encoder for much better thread cutting? You know, the support's there in the software for the Slant Pro lathe, but it's not a software issue so much as a hardware issue. When you have a mill, we're going over 20, we've got the DB25 connector that's 17 pins of I/O. You have 3 limit switches and a probe input. You just don't have room for A, B, and Z encoder inputs. So it's a long way of saying no. There won't be an optical encoder for much better thread cutting, but I think you'll find single pulse per rev cutting can be made to work fairly well. Will the upgrades ship soon? I really do hope to ship them today, as a matter of fact. Oh! Early next week. Sorry. Andy's always a bit more conservative than we are. USB problems going away now. Does that mean that I could hook up a mouse, keyboard, jog shuttle, etc. through a small hub? We haven't tried it, but I don't see a reason why that wouldn't work. If you have the USB I/O board, I wouldn't recommend putting that through a hub because it gobbles up pretty much the entire power requirements that you you could get off a USB line. Do I have a Haas FANUC post working? You mean will code posted for Haas work on Passpilot? Yeah, I'm 99% sure it will, but SpruitCam, I think, has Haas and FANUC posts if you buy the all-post version. Bud Scott, can you run from here as in Mach 3? Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, yes, you can. Mach 3 has two flavors of run from here. There's, what is it, set next line and run from here. And run from here includes motion preparatory commands in Mach 3, and that does things like turning the spindle on if it should be on, turning the coolant on if it should be on, and then doing the preparatory move, which Eric Anderson here at Tormach always referred to as the box of death. Okay to do preparatory move? Always cancel that because it'll crash. And that was Mach 3, the Mach 3 run from here that you're referring to. The set next line in Mach 3 would do start the G-code program as if it was starting from there without the preparatory move or the spindle on. And I think that's a much more conservative way of going. The way Passpilot works, you can right-click on any line in the G-code, and you can set that as the start line. And it will read back to find out what the modal state of the machine should be with respect to work offset, tool offset, things like G17-18 planes, G64 modality, G1, G0, G3 modalities. But it will not execute motion-related modalities. So where this affects run from here for most people is you can set the start line, but then the operator is responsible for turning the spindle on by pressing the spindle forward button and turning the coolant on. And then you just hit cycle start, and it works just fine. But we never felt comfortable with the whole run from here, starting your spindle, you know, especially the Mach 3 preparatory move, box of death thing. Obviously, no one wanted that. Skip Baker, can you load NC files via LAN? You can't load them via LAN, but you can store them to the hard drive. Think of it as network attached storage for your CAM system, but you have to be at the software to load and run a file. Will future orders for controllers include Passpilot with no change in the existing controller price, or should an OSC? No. Yeah, Andy's got that here. The controllers will ship ready for Passpilot. They will include the CD, and the price, as far as I know, won't be changing. Jasper Jackson, do I need to order the software in addition to the upgrade kit? No, the upgrade kit has a CD included. Oh, and Andy's answering. They said before me. What's the expected cost of the released version? Passpilot controllers will be the same as the current controllers of the state. No, RJ, you can't import and export tool tables. That was something that was requested from some of the beta guys. We've got this big tool table in Mach 3. I don't want to redo the tool table for the Passpilot software. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but it's one of those things that by the time you've gotten enough requests and you write the code, the number of people transitioning may have dropped down because people will have just re-entered the data manually. So we'll see. Are there operations in Mach 3 that you are not including in Passpilot? That is a good question. You know, I'm going to have to pull up Mach 3 real quick. There's only one that I can think of. You know, I think the probing routines, we may have gotten rid of a couple of the comp probing features, like probing a semicircular arc. We got rid of something, the Z multipass feature in Mach 3, which if you had hand-coded something and you were wanted to loop that 5 times at 4 different Z levels, Mach 3 had kind of a weird way to do that on the user interface. We thought that was just kind of archaic, and we got rid of it. Otherwise, I can't think of any operations in Mach 3 that we're not including. If you have Tim, if you have a specific operation you're thinking of, feel free to ask that question, and I'll answer it. Olaf, manual and PDF. Draft next week for download. Brian, yeah, I think Andy may have answered this just in the above question. Yes, there will be a new user manual, and we'll have a draft available next week. The release of the main software will come with a finished version of that manual. So when the controllers start shipping with this on it, they'll have it. Chris, yes. Conditional logic in subs and all that, it's all, yeah, you bet, available to you. Fourth axis toolpath view be allowed, and on our other fourth axis issues that I should wait to install PathPilot. No issues to my knowledge. Yeah, the toolpath view is allowed and it does display. I don't know of any fourth axis issues. We've tested it with the fourth axis code that we use here for the class. We've done some other testing. But, you know, I've got to say that 3-axis probably represents 95 to 98% of the code we run here. So 4th axis is probably a little less thoroughly tested. So to answer your question, there are no issues that I know of that would cause you to wait. But if you do find an issue, as we mentioned earlier, let us know and we will move heaven and earth to try to get it fixed in a real timely fashion. G12 and G13. Oh boy, this stumped the presenter here. Give me just a second. Circular pocket. No, it's G2, G3 with a p-value for circular pocket. Keyboard cycle start. Yes, Alt-R, Paul. Alt-R, same as Mach 3. Yes, there's a blue boundary box for the maximum travels, and you'll have it in PathPilot. Even better yet, when you run the code, if it goes outside the area, you'll know that before you start the code. Tool or end mill wear by changing the diameter of the tool. Larry, it does if you're using G42 or G41 cutter radius compensation. I don't know how familiar you are with those, but yeah, if you're using cutter radius compensation, you can adjust the tool path based on the tool diameter, and that works. But some folks think that it's just, you know, it happens magically. That's not the case. I would recommend if you haven't ever checked out Peter Schmidt, this guy is the person who wrote the Bible on cutter radius compensation and most of the other FANUC standard G codes. That's the answer for the cutter radius compensation. How long before the non-version comes out? March 15th. All right, sounds like Andy's wrapping things up. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope we answered questions. We'll be having another webinar coming up Monday, I believe. And if you didn't get your question answered, please go ahead and email them in drogi@tormach.com or info@tormach.com. Thank you so much.